Okay, welcome to the DNAVG podcast number 1. I'm your host, Iron White, joined here by Chris Cook.
Hello.
All right, DNAVG is our new website, the sister site to hdwarriors.com. So DNAVG, where video games are part of our DNA. We want to get started this week with our E3 preview. We're going to start with some Mario Kart impressions first, though, because it's been about a week of Mario Kart, and we need to talk about this great game. So, Chris, what are your first impressions of this, having played it for about a week?
Well, first of all, love Mario Kart in general, and this one's probably the best one they've ever made.
I agree.
Probably the best one.
There's going to be the blasphemy crying crowd.
Pretty much like Double Dash.
Hey, I love Double Dash too, but this game kind of...
It's amazing. Like, for one, it looks absolutely gorgeous. It's like most games you like, they're really good looking, you play them, like after a while you stop noticing. It's like Mario Kart, after every race you're like, holy crap, that looks amazing. Or you're playing and you're like, oh, look at that detail, look at that. And it's a gorgeous game.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I really agree about the detail. That's something that I think that pretty much everyone that really loves video games has been waiting for from Nintendo. For them to create truly detailed games. It's like there are the arguments about whether graphics should be realistic or more cartoony or stylistic or whatever. I don't think that anyone's going to care about Zelda or any other games that Nintendo makes about what the actual art style is, as long as it's very detailed.
Yeah.
As long as it has an element of what they accomplished here with Mario Kart 8.
Yeah. It's more detailed than any game ever. I mean, that was like a lot of people's big fault
Nintendo
with
game.
Yeah, games on the Wii. They were not detailed enough at all.
Right.
And then you have the Wii U, which has all this power, and they haven't been doing it. And then finally, they make a game that's incredibly detailed, like Luigi stairs he drives by.
That is so awesome.
It's glorious.
I was laughing so hard the first time I saw that.
Yeah. I've seen it a couple times, and you just keep rewatching it. It gets funnier every time.
Yeah, it's like the best thing that could have happened for Nintendo as far as buzz goes is something like that. I mean, the guy that insisted on that being in the game has got to be just so...
Yeah, he's got to be so happy.
Ecstatic right now. Like, where's my raise, bitch?
Pretty much. Speaking of Mario Kart, and since it's an E3 show, I think that one thing that would be really cool for Mario Kart to keep it going is DLC.
Yeah.
And like it's kind of we're hoping it's a given at this point, just because it'd be stupid not to do it with the amount of like money and the amount of like way they could keep this game going, especially with the Japanese DLC for the Mercedes, is it? Yeah, Mercedes car. By the way, that commercial was great.
It's just funny that in the last month and a half or so, Nintendo's kind of really gotten on board with the idea of entertaining gamers outside of their games. Because that's something that they've really been missing. And that commercial was it was stupid, but we all loved it. It was corny. The directs that they had before, like the last month or whatever, that was some corny crap, but it was entertaining. It was Nintendo really trying to be humorous and entertaining outside of their actual
They're finally starting to change, and it's good. It's very good for us.
As far as the DLC goes, I wouldn't be surprised if they did announce some, though at the same time, it will only be about 2 weeks or so after the release of the game, and they've only announced that other DLC in Japan. They may want to wait. It just depends on what they have, and that I think is everyone's fear, is that they don't have a whole lot. But at the same time, with the way that they're kind of hyping up this E3, part of you can kind of hold on to that hope that they're gonna knock our socks off.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, it's a big E3 for them. They're either gonna they got some momentum going in with Mario Kart. They're selling more systems. It's still not doing great, but they want to kind of ride this wave out and get the most out of it, and then announce all these games at E3 and kind of get this big momentum shift for them and their console sales and how it's doing as a whole.
Yeah. And the reason why we care about console sales at all is because we would like the Wii U to last for as long as possible, and get as many good games as possible. If it doesn't sell well and Nintendo kind of has to half give up on it, we're not going to see as many great games as we would. So, you have to care about sales just a little bit.
Yeah.
But before we get into E3 too much, let's talk about Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire remakes for 3DS.
Yeah, so I'm ecstatic for those personally, because my first Pokemon game was Sapphire.
Yeah.
I can't remember Ruby said, but yeah, my first Pokemon game was Sapphire, and I remember playing it as a kid, and that's by far my favorite generation so far. I don't know, I love those games. So when they finally announced the remakes of Ruby and Sapphire, I was ecstatic, just because they should have done it a while ago, but I'm kind of happy they did it now, and it's going to come out for the 3DS. It's glorious.
Yeah, my first Pokemon game was Pokemon Red, so I'm old school.
Yeah.
But you know what? Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire is when they really up the ante for these games. It was the first truly color game. I mean, you had your Pokemon Yellow and Silver and Gold that you could play on the Game Boy Color, and they had a couple of little colors here and there. But Ruby and Sapphire were the first ones where they truly committed to making that Pokemon world in color. So I really appreciated those games, and I'm really glad for these remakes.
Speaking of first steps, maybe this will be the first Pokemon game that the whole thing's in 3D.
That'd
be nice. It needs to be.
When I filled out my Club Nintendo survey for Pokemon
X and Y.
Pokemon X and Y, yeah. Or I got the X version. Chris got the Y version. But when I filled out my survey at Club Nintendo for Pokemon X, I put down one of my concerns on there. One of my complaints actually is that it was really disappointing that the entire world wasn't in 3D. And Nintendo had made this statement that they wanted to try and surprise people at various times with the 3D popping on and off.
Yeah, it's just a cop out.
Right.
Well, it's what it feels like.
That's what it feels like.
Just feels like a cop out.
It feels lazy, and maybe I'm not being fair, but as a consumer, I was expecting the game to be 3D, where I could explore that entire world and look off into the distance, the depth of field, and the graphics are still very simplistic. They look great, but I mean, if you look at a game
like Fire Emblem,
Fire Emblem. I mean, every game has its own style, and a game like Fire Emblem's more enclosed, so of course you're going to have better graphics on those little rooms where you have people fighting on the wyverns and all that sort of thing, but with the sort of graphics that they had on Pokemon X and Y, I do not see why they couldn't have that whole game in 3D.
It just, I don't see a reason why they couldn't. It just seems lazy. Maybe we're greedy because we want the whole game in 3D, but I mean, I don't think it'd be that much harder for them to take the extra time and make the whole game in 3D. It doesn't.
Well, and you know what the bottom line problem is?
Money.
The bottom line problem. Well, no, they make more profit off of these games probably than any other game in existence, because they sell.
True, they sell so many copies.
Shitload, and the amount of money it takes for them to make them is nothing compared to a Call of Duty or a Battlefield or something like that, right? The production value just is not the same cost-wise. But the problem is that even if this game, this Omega Ruby and Sapphire, had 0 3D, none, which of course they will have some. If they had none, my ass is still buying it, your ass is still buying it, and so are 10 million or more other people. And that's what the problem is. So,
they got to spread the balls.
We got to hope that Nintendo does right by us, and if they don't feel like it, then they ain't gonna do it.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into another impression, since something came out recently, which is Watch Dogs.
Yeah.
And so this personally for me is a game I've really been anticipating. And then in the subsequent months following up to its arrival, I kind of got less interested. Just because I remember first seeing that game. What was it, E3 last year? Or the year
2012.
2012, yeah, E3 2012. I remember seeing that game and be like, holy shit, that game looks absolutely gorgeous. And then, subsequent reveal trailers and trailers going past, it was like, ugh, that game's, okay, it still looks really good. And then it was like, okay, it looks it looks solid, and it's like, okay, it looks pretty average.
Yeah,
it's kind of
at
like
some point it was kind of like,
what the hell happened? And then like, oh yeah, well we were using 4 Titans for that on our PC. And it was like, okay, but overall, I mean, I never got Grand Theft Auto, and I've been really wanting an open world sandbox that's less stupid than Grand Theft. Well, Grand Theft Auto isn't stupid.
Oh, you just offended a lot of people.
Oh yeah, I offended a lot of people, but I mean, it's
sorry, but we're not
gonna
care sometimes.
But I don't want to go to a titty bar in a video game.
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, I guess if that's your cup of tea, whatever. But
I'm glad that game exists for
people that
like
want it, but not my thing. I wanted to play it, but I was like, no.
I've been done with Grand Theft Auto since San Andreas, which was a pretty good game, but I got my fill of it.
Yeah, so I wanted Watch Dogs to have like open world sandbox where you can just play around, and then hacking was a big part. And I mean, honestly, I'm waiting to get it for my Wii U just because I want to support third-party games on my Wii U.
Yeah,
which I'm excited to get it for that. But that's
what I'm waiting on also. But I think that it's important that you get the game on the system that you're going to find the most enjoyment on. And I was not going to get it for Wii U. I was going to get it for PC.
Yeah,
because initially they were saying that they weren't going to put any extra work into the gamepad. But when the delays happened and all that, and finally they started giving us some information about the Wii U version again. Like, hey, don't worry, it's going to come out. And by the way, we're doing everything we can to make the gamepad as awesome as possible for this game.
Yeah.
And I was sold. Now, if the game doesn't come out like by August or maybe September at the latest, then we might have to just let it go and get it on PC.
I don't know. Personally, it's one of those games where I don't have to get. I mean, I got a lot of other stuff to play at the moment.
Well, you played it a little bit on PS4 recently, but you don't own it for PS4.
No, I don't.
So tell us about that a little bit.
Well, it was. First of all, it actually looked decent.
I've seen the PS4 version. It looks nice.
It looks nice. It definitely does. There's some spots where it's like, but overall, it's a pretty beautiful game. The water looks absolutely gorgeous. I'll give it that. The water's great. Mm-hmm. It's fun. It handles a little bit differently than Grand Theft Auto. Like driving's a little bit more wild. And there's controls and things that are a little bit different. But for the most part, it's basically like Grand Theft Auto. Auto is like reborn. Less adult content and more like hacking and other like more a little bit different. They changed the story.
You call it adult content.
Well,
I would say that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, pretty much because there's like 13-year-olds playing it.
Right, like inappropriate for young people content.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, my impressions were that it's a great game. I mean, it's definitely has its audience. I'm just don't have to get it, so I'm kind of waiting for the Wii U one.
I'm kind of, and I have not played it yet, but this is my initial impression. Because I'm definitely going to get it for Wii U unless, they decide it's not coming out till December or next year or something. But my impression is that it's going to be like the original Assassin's Creed, where like there's this really great concept, and in a lot of ways they kind of hit a home run, but in a lot of ways they kind of strike out. And that on that next version, if things go as planned, Ubisoft really wants this to be a big franchise.
If they want to keep going,
it's going to be pretty badass starting with the next one.
Yeah,
and I wanna play it and get used to it and understand it and then get the enjoyment out of this first one and really see like what we're in store for next time around, because
Definitely.
I think that Ubisoft has some big plans for the series, and that they got their feet wet, we're getting our feet wet. They're learning from all the things that are involved. I mean, a sandbox game, there's so much involved. People are complaining about the glitches, and I understand, but
there's gonna be some.
Think about it. Yeah, I mean, it's a game where you have a city that you can do anything in. It's like Grand Theft Auto, and they spent 5 years on that game. On just the two consoles, the PS3 and Xbox 360.
Yeah.
Trying their best to optimize that, and it was still glitchy. So you have to have a certain level of understanding when it comes to these games. I think that this one's going to be awesome when I play it, and I think that the next one is going to be the one that probably starts to drop some jaws.
Yeah, I definitely agree. All right, well,
yeah, that's
let's move on.
Yeah. Let's see. So there was news this week about the Xbox One GPU getting a boost. So in case you haven't heard, Microsoft announced that they're will soon be a Connectless bundle for the Xbox One, kind of like most people wanted from the start.
Yeah, no one wanted
So
the
it's going to be
Kinect.
cheaper for one, and then also it's going to allow them through their developer tools to unlock about 10% or so of the GPU that was allocated specifically for the Kinect.
Yeah.
So what that means is that, we don't have a lot of specifics, but what that means is that to some extent, developers are going to be able to do more with the GPU.
Yeah.
And, you can't pinpoint exactly what or how or whatever.
I mean, not to talk shit, but maybe they'll actually have 1080p games for once. Well, yeah.
I totally hear you on that, but I mean, I try not to fall into that trap. PS4 is doing great, and you know why the PS4 is doing great? There are a couple reasons. For one, they looked at the market and they said, hey, Nintendo and Microsoft are still going to be playing these games with the peripherals, these expensive peripherals, right? Nintendo's got this expensive controller, and Microsoft is going to try and take the next step forward with that Kinect thing, and it's going to really make their consoles expensive. So what if, we'll have that, but it'll be optional. What if we just go with a no-nonsense,
straight gaming console?
And straight gaming console that's the most powerful in the market, but somehow it's still cheaper because we don't mess around with all that bullshit.
Yeah, and then people are loving that. I mean, obviously in my opinion, that's why the PS4 is winning, because it got a lot of momentum at E3 last year.
Right, but
with all the stuff Microsoft did wrong.
Another reason why it's winning though is because of this 1080p thing.
Yeah, people are caught up on
right. Yeah, it's like, oh my god.
It's
that game's only 900p.
Oh no! And if you're looking at it up close, you can't tell the difference. Well, I mean, sure you can tell.
Yes, you can. But people that talk about
it. Yeah.
People that talk about video games on the internet and have trained themselves to, really looked for these fine details, because you have to justify to yourself why you spend $400 on these machines, right?
You don't need. Well,
so you need to pixel count sometimes, But
anyways, so that's nice, and I think with the price cut going down to the same as the PS4, it's really going to come down to games. And as of right now, neither of them have too many exclusives, and that's one thing that we really want to see at E3 is both consoles come out with here's games that you should buy, or here's reasons you should buy my console with these games.
Right. So let's talk about what do you want to see from Microsoft at E3.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I mean, I'm a fan of Halo. I'm not a huge fan of it. I want to see the
last
compilation.
One you enjoyed was Reach.
Reach. Yeah, okay. I didn't enjoy 4 too much. It kind of deviated too much from Halo. It went with the class system, and it was more like Call of Duty, and Halo had a baby, and I wasn't a fan of it. But there's the new compilations coming out where they're putting all the Halo games together in one and rebooting it for the Xbox One, which I'm really interested in because I loved Halo 1 and 2. Loved them. Halo 2 especially, for the multiplayer was great.
Right.
And then as far as everything else goes for the Xbox One, I mean, I'm not really too interested in Microsoft's, I'll keep tabs on it.
I'm not all that interested in Gears of War or Halo.
Yeah,
I'll play them, but I'm not going to buy an Xbox One because of them. But you know what? What I am looking forward to is when they were talking about the Xbox One when they first announced it, they were talking about how they had all these games, these first-party games that they've invested all this money into creating, new first-party content. And we haven't heard much about that or seen hardly any of it. So, I mean, this could be the time where even if these games aren't ready, they're going to start showing us some of this stuff, and we're going to be like, oh, holy crap,
that's cool,
Microsoft is actually going to try and pull a Sony and really start building up some new franchises.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of what I would like to see from them, and it's kind of what I would expect to see from them.
Yeah, they kind of need to.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, I think that all three of these consoles are going to be fine. I mean, the whole console war thing is it's all about bragging rights and who sold the most. But if everyone involved can make their console profitable and sell lots of games, and a decent amount of hardware, then everything will be fine. But
definitely.
Yeah, but anyway, what do you expect to see or what do you want to see from Sony?
From Sony.
Oh, just for those of you that don't know, I mean, Sony's doing this big thing all across the United States where they're they're having movie theaters, for people to come and watch their E3 conference, and those tickets went so fast. I mean, I heard about it, I went and checked, and the tickets were gone. So, I mean, it was that fast.
People are excited for that.
Right, and it's just a nice gesture. In the end, you're talking about, probably less than 100,000 people that are in these movie theaters watching it.
Yeah,
but that is an amazing gesture.
It is.
That Sony, they really understand that E3 is all about the serious gamer that's going to spend a lot of money on serious games.
Yeah, and they do understand the market well, and they do apply it very well. I would agree with that.
We'll say maybe 100,000 people are actually in the theaters watching this, right? But you're going to have a shit ton of people recording it with their phones and tweeting
posting
about
it, putting it on Facebook, all kinds of
and
stuff,
talking about it for weeks. So
it's gonna get this big, this huge hype train, but it's gonna definitely help keep that momentum, and I feel like it's a good play by Sony.
It's just another step. It's another thing that Sony's really good at doing that thing that people kind of would expect them to do, but didn't think about it until it was announced.
Yeah,
it's kind of like
true.
Fuck yeah, that's exactly what I want from them. I didn't think of it, but
that'd be awesome to go to.
Right. And Nintendo and Microsoft aren't really doing that. Nintendo wants to surprise you like with something that you never even heard of before, and it's like, okay, that's cool, but it's hard to kind of get excited about. I'll try it, and it's like, oh my god, that's really cool, but you have to try it. Right?
Yeah.
And the things that you do want, the things that you would expect, they're kind of like, well, yeah, but you expect that, so we're not going to do it.
Which is bad at some times.
But they're kind of moving away from that, right?
Yeah.
Everyone expects the Ruby and Sapphire remake, but they're doing it, right?
Yeah.
They expect to be more entertained by these announcements, and they're doing it.
Yeah. So as far as like what we expect, or what we want and expect, so to speak, from Sony at E3, I mean, I really expect a God of War reveal. It's time. It's time. It's definitely time. I really want to slay gods.
Well, here's the thing, though. Like, where do you go with Kratos' story at this point?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, with God of War 3, I was pretty done with that story. Like I love the whole Greek mythology thing, and Kratos is such an amazing character, and the first trilogy is just amazing. But they're going to really have to prove to me, that it's not just graphics, that, like, I want to play this game because, like, this is going to be an amazing new God of War adventure, and I don't want to play some other new character. It's got to be Kratos, or I'm not interested. And it's got to be cool and interesting, or I'm not interested.
I'm excited to see Sony's E3, but I don't know what they're going to. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I personally would want from them besides that. I mean, I bought my PS3 for God of War, right? And I mean, I ended up getting a lot of other games, but like, what really excites me, what really is going to cause me to push that button. And I mean, I want to play Kingdom Hearts, and
Kingdom Hearts does it. I'm excited for that game.
I might want to play Final Fantasy. I'm not. I'm kind of really burnt out on the series, but it looks beautiful,
I'm more into Final Fantasy than say you were, and even I'm like,
I don't have a PS4. School, like Final Fantasy 6 is like what I love.
Yeah, I don't have a PS4, so I'm kind of looking at this E3 like, am I gonna get one after this E3, or am I gonna wait a while until a lot more games come out? Because as of right now, you're buying your PS4, and you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll get third-party games, and it's not really a reason to buy a console.
Right,
exclusives are reason.
If you have a PC, then
Oh yeah, exactly. But it's just the exclusives are what's going to sell these consoles. Because people that have, say, a PS3 already or an Xbox 360, they don't need to.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, the PS4 is selling really well right now for people that are, buying it, playing the couple of games that are really worth playing, and just waiting, because it's the cool thing to have a PS4 right now, and Sony's really done a good job of that. But there is going to come a point where, they are going to have to come after the gamers like us that are waiting for a reason to buy one.
Yeah, definitely.
I would say that, most of the gaming world is just waiting for that reason, so that's definitely a good thing in Sony's corner also.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's move on to what we expect and want from Nintendo at E3.
Course.
So there's a lot of stuff I want to see. Well, let's go. What do we expect to see? So for one, obviously Zelda Wii U reveal, fully reveal
Right.
it, show us the game,
Well,
and
see,
they
they
need
may
to.
not do that. Though.
Well, if they don't, I'm going to be extremely
They're
sad.
going to announce it, but if you remember the Skyward Sword first reveal, it was just a what do you call it, a watercolor poster.
Yeah, it's
Of Link and Fi or Fee or whatever you want to call her standing behind him, and then we speculated for a freaking year about what all that meant, and then we got the reveal, which was the disaster thing on stage with the Wii remote being screwed up by all the cell phones. And
I definitely want to see Zelda. I want to see that game. I want to see the art style. I want to see what they're going to do with it. I really want to see how they incorporate the gamepad into it. Because I mean, Zelda is one of their biggest IPs. Like, without a doubt, it's one of their
It's
biggest.
the most hype-inducing IP that they have,
Exactly.
I would say.
And I think they really, like, need to, like, especially with the Wii U, they really need to incorporate the gamepad into that game. I mean, sure, people are still going to love it even if they don't, but I feel like it's a missed opportunity if they don't.
Well,
Like, maybe make an item that you use the gamepad with, or things,
Yeah,
things
it's
like
getting
that.
to the point now where the gamepad is, people don't really respect it for the little things that it does so well, like the off TV play and stuff, right? They want more. So, the series of games, it doesn't really use the gamepad in the way people expect. And it's really starting to become bothersome to some people and worrisome to some people.
Yeah, exactly.
So for Zelda, if they can find a way not to shoehorn it in or contrive it, then they really need to make good use of the gamepad.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things I'm probably, Brawl, or not Brawl, I always call Smash Brothers Brawl. Smash Brothers Wii U. I want to be able to. I really want to be able to play that game and watch that tournament. I really want to watch that tournament and see the game. I mean, we've seen so much about the game, and we know a lot about it. I mean, it's a Smash Brothers, so it's going to be, obviously, we already know what to expect. Yeah. But I want to see how the game actually plays and kind of look at how it's going to feel.
I need to know how it feels. Like, once I get a good feel for how it feels, and I'll know how much I'll love it. I'm going to love it either way.
Pretty much.
But it needs to be faster. They've promised it'll be faster. But how are the characters going to feel in the air?
Yeah. There's just a lot of feel and a lot of little nuances that separate all the Smash Brother games, and it's those little things make you either love the game more than any other, or make it just a great game compared to a good game. And it's just like those little things, and I really want to see how this one plays. I'm really excited for that.
Yep.
And another thing I really, really want to see them finally fully reveal is X.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That game looks amazing. Like, for one, it's speculated Xenoblade Chronicles sequel.
Xenoblade
Chronicles. It was a great game for the Wii.
Yep.
And I think that if they do X right, I think it's going to be one of the best games the Wii U gets.
Well, I agree, but at the same time, it is a Japanese RPG, and a lot of the Western reaction to it, and not everyone, of course, obviously we love it, but a lot of the Western reaction to it is kind of meh. Because people see all those numbers on the screen, and the giant mechs and Gundams or whatever you want to call them. They're dolls in the game. But, and they're just not that excited. They kind of see it and they're like, "Well, that's cool, but I don't want that." And so
yeah, I think they're really gonna have to show it off and make people want it. And for one, it's not really a well-known game. I mean, people that follow video games intently, they know about it and they're excited for it.
A year and a half about this game.
But people, the average casual gamer, they don't even know what it is.
Right.
And so I think they need to fully tell us the title. Yeah, it's just X. Just
at this point, just leave it X. I don't care. This is how I know it and love it.
Pretty much. Oh yeah, I really want to see that game and see how it plays, and I really want to see them showcase it finally. That'd be great for one.
Yeah, I mean, if you know anything about Xenoblade Chronicles, then you know that there are just so many different locales. Like, even on the Wii, it was on the Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii. It was so colorful, so imaginative, and just, it was a huge world.
Well, it was
just the thought
enormous.
Of what this game could be on the Wii U, and some of the things the developers have said about how they want it to be like a seamless open world type of thing.
If they make it as big, even if it was just as big as Xenoblade Chronicles, which was a huge game.
Yeah, but
The game was massive, and then make it as detailed as it is. Like that first trailer they showed us, he's running next to the water, and then you look off in the distance, and the draw distance is crazy.
Yeah,
you see these detailed mountains in the mist.
The biggest things that people like
game
about
looks amazing.
You just look off into the distance, and it's like, I'm going to go there.
And I'm going to look at it the whole time without any loading screens.
Exactly.
It's going to be great. That's one thing I'm really looking forward to. Probably more.
But we're anime freaks, kind of. Not really,
not freaks, but we
really
enjoy that.
We enjoy Japanese culture.
Yeah, definitely.
And their style of entertainment.
So we're more
Nintendo
apt.
really is going to have to find a way to make this game appeal to more people, and I think that it already is going to have a decent audience. I mean, you have the Operation Rainfall people that really came through and got this game released in the West, basically.
Yeah.
You know, so there is a fan base there, and I mean, that I think that this game is one that it has something that Nintendo can build on, but they're gonna have to consciously do that.
Yeah. Another game that I'm really interested in to see more of is Bayonetta 2.
Yeah, that game is gonna be It is going to be the game that allows me to survive until God of War 4. And if God of War 4 lets me down, like, it doesn't
You
seem
can always
appealing,
fall back on Bayonetta 2.
That game, the combat on that game just looks glorious.
It does. Freaking flying through the city on a jet, blowing stuff up, and it looks gorgeous. This is a great looking game.
It's a really good looking game.
And we were looking back at even just watching those first preview and little gameplay, it's a long time ago.
Right.
They still had a lot of time to polish the game.
Well,
and make it look good.
they had a demo last year at E3.
Yeah.
So, and it's been a very long time since we've seen like anything new from it.
That is true. So I want to see not the final product, but I want to see.
I want them to announce it for August.
Yeah,
you can buy it today as soon as this presentation is over. Yeah, that's me, right?
Pretty much.
But
speaking of games coming out, I want to see Xenoblade come out. I mean, in the Wii U business meeting business conference or whatever, that game's still listed as coming out in 2014, which I would love. I really don't want it to get delayed.
The great fear right now is that it will be Japan in 2014, and
then come to the United States.
The West.
That'd be sad. I mean, there's so many games. Well, not so many, but there's a lot of games coming out for the Wii U that I'd play in that time period. But I want.
Well, Nintendo is definitely more sensitive now to the idea of a worldwide release. I mean, they're doing it now with Pokemon. It seems like that at least in that game, it's unacceptable for them to have different release dates.
Yeah.
They know that the people that want these games, they don't want to have to wait a half a year for them. Like the Tales games are terrible at that. Like you have to wait at least a year for any of them.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're talking about Mario Kart DLC at the beginning of this, and with their games, I think it'd be a perfect opportunity for them to announce, like maybe not like have the DLC come out soon because Mario Kart just came out, but announce that there's going to be DLC, and every time there's a sparse point in games, release DLC for the games they already have, and make remakes for like GameCube games. Oh, speaking of Smash Brothers, the GameCube controller is coming out.
Oh yeah, that's
like the GameCube adapter. Yeah, that's huge. Just because, I mean, that game was pretty much made to be played with that controller. Like that is the controller.
Well, it was made to be played on the 64 controller.
Yeah,
but they mastered how the
it's
gameplay should be on that GameCube controller. At least to the point where people just don't want it to be anything else, and me included.
And that's really good that they've done that. They've listened to the fan base. They know what their fans want, which is something that's not new for Nintendo, but it's a nice relief.
It's a step back in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly.
I was all prepared to play it on the gamepad and on the Pro Controller, not the Wii Remote. I hate that control scheme. For that game, I have no problem with the Wii Remote, but for Smash Brothers, I hated using that.
Yeah. And that adapter, and I want to get those little Smash Brothers GameCube controllers with the Smash Brothers emblem.
Yeah, as soon as they announced that, I was like, I have money. You want it?
Here, just take it.
Yeah.
Same with Mario Kart DLC. If they release Mario Kart DLC with just take my money, Nintendo.
Right.
I'm excited for E3. It's in a couple of days actually, which is
just a couple of days.
Exciting. I mean, I woke up last week and I was like, oh shit, E3's in like a week, and I was like, yes, I'm gonna be sitting in my chair on the internet for a couple days straight, just sitting there eating food, maybe leaving to go to the bathroom. We'll see. You never know. Totally joking, but
poop socket.
Yeah, poop bucket.
Oh god.
Yeah, I think this E3 is going to be one of the best. It's going to be great. I'm really excited, and I really want to see how each of these gaming companies kind of reaches out and tries to get the audience. And I think right now in the gaming industry, they're really going to have to go get people.
Yeah.
And I feel like they've all kind of like, and you've seen it, Nintendo's kind of started to do that. They're starting to reach out and try a lot harder to get people, because they're kind of not backing to a corner, but
Nintendo lost the Wii crowd. They waited too long to get out the Wii U, and people moved on to tablets, and they moved on to Xbox 360s, and they moved on to PS3s.
Yeah,
and now they have to say, hey, this is why you want a Wii U. Mario Kart was probably, there's so many good games on Wii U, but Mario Kart was the first one where, for the mass audience, they could really make that statement. Is that you want to play this, and all your friends want to play it.
So here's a good reason. I think that's gonna, like, Mario Kart sales. Mario Kart on the Wii sold what, 34 million copies? 35 million. That's an insane amount of copies. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
I mean, and obviously there's not even close to that many Wii U's, but over time, I mean, it's already, the sales in the UK went up by 300% for the Wii U. It's definitely moving systems. And Smash Bros. Is going to be the same way. I mean, I know most of the people I know that don't have a Wii U, like, well, I'm waiting for Mario Kart and Smash Brothers.
And and that's what they're going to have to do, is be consistent, right?
Yeah.
They promised us consistency, and they haven't lived up to that promise yet. Like, first it was supposed to start with Donkey Kong, and first they delayed Donkey Kong, and then you realize why. You kind of know that they don't have anything else until Mario Kart.
Yeah.
But it looks like they're going to have some filler games. You have the Hyrule Warriors, and supposedly they have a bunch of collaboration announcements like that they're going to announce.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll have things that kind of fill the gaps, because the third parties are not going to be back on board until there are a lot of Wii U consoles.
Yeah. And that's the way the Wii was. I mean, once there was so many Wii consoles, 'cause it sold the most out of any that generation. Mm-hmm. There were so many Wii consoles that third-party companies were basically begging to have their game on the Wii, just because there's so many systems.
Right, and even if all those really popular multi-platform games aren't on the Wii U, I'm fine with that personally. I mean, I hope that those games come for people that only have a Wii U or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm gonna play The Witcher 3 on my PC. I don't need them to try and put that game on the Wii U.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I would like to see from third parties on the Wii U are exclusives. Like the things like Red Steel 2. How about a Zombie U2? Nintendo, they need to, kind of spearhead that a little bit and say, hey, Ubisoft, we'll take some of the risk on this. Just make it amazing.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I really hope to see is some GameCube remakes. And there's a lot of rumors going around about Mario Sunshine reboots.
But I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that remakes, I think it's
if you don't
great.
Want them, don't buy
them. Yeah, but I think it's great just because it doesn't take that long to remake the game and make it look amazing. I mean, Wind Waker HD was a gorgeous game.
Yeah.
And I mean, for people that
never on a game that was still gorgeous.
Yeah. People that never played it, they got to play that game for the first time in HD, and they refined the game. They made it better. They didn't just...
Nerds like me got to replay it.
Yeah, exactly. And they didn't just take the game, make it look better, and just put it on the Wii U. They actually changed some stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to, again, create less, less time in between the major Wii U installments for the games.
People who lived through that era and had a GameCube or played on their friend's GameCube, they can name one or two games that they would love to see remade.
Yeah,
it might be different, across 10 people, but it's something Nintendo can really look into.
It took
and
them
make some money on.
6 months or so to do the Wind Waker HD remake,
something like that.
And if you just take a small little studio or maybe even outsource it, but just
like they did Ocarina of Time
3D, just have remakes come out, and people would love that, especially if they improve the actual games and fix its problems. Because there was some great games that came out for the GameCube, and the GameCube kind of was just like the Wii U. It came out in a funny spot, and it was a great system, but it didn't get all the love it needed.
That's what people need to understand, is that this third-party problem that Nintendo has this is not something that just happened. It didn't just happen this
didn't
last
happen
2
with Wii
years.
U, no.
It didn't start with the Wii. Things have been kind of off for a long time with Nintendo. I mean, they hadn't had the greatest relationship with third-party companies back in the NES and SNES days because it was kind of a hard dictatorship, right? And then third parties, they began to have more options once PlayStation came out. And, you know, they kind of gravitated there. And then it kind of became, Sony is this entertainment tech company. So, you know, they've got the CD and they own the rights to it. And they can put larger games on it. And, you know, you could start having voice acting and stuff like that. And Nintendo's behind because they're still using the cartridge. And then, you know, they decide they're going to come out with their own proprietary disc for the GameCube.
Yeah.
And it's this little tiny thing that yet you need two of them to have a large game. And, you know, every single time for the last few times Nintendo's released a console, there's something that really turns off third parties. At least one thing about the hardware.
Yeah. And a lot of what happened this time is people were complaining the Wii U's underpowered, it's not great, which is, it's not true.
It's definitely the weakest of the new
but
consoles.
not by that much. A lot more. It's not as much as people think.
Right, like the PS4 is not just shitting all over the Wii U as far as capability goes, as far as what you actually see on screen. If you know the same efforts put into
if you code right for the Wii U, it can look
but obviously
just as good.
The PS4 is more powerful.
Yeah, obviously both.
But
of them
what does that power mean at this point? In this age of diminishing returns, that's what the question is, and there's definitely a difference, and definitely people like us can appreciate that difference and notice it, and probably people listening to this podcast. But for the masses, no.
No, not at all.
They can't tell the difference between native and upscale. They can't tell the difference between resolutions, like native resolutions in general. Maybe if they can, they're like, oh, okay, well, maybe this TV's just a little better than that one.
Yeah.
You know, that's not how it is with the regular consumer.
And that's why games are going to sell these consoles, just because the differences aren't that huge. And so if games come out that for each console that people are like, oh my gosh, I want to play that game. The gameplay looks amazing. That concept's cool. That's really what's going to sell consoles. And
Nintendo was banking on that, on the gamepad to be that, but they
aren't
themselves
using it.
didn't capitalize on it, and third parties didn't capitalize on it to the extent they needed to.
Yep.
And
so now that we get this lull, we get this opinion kind of drop. For one, they didn't market it very well at all.
Yeah. Sony saw the market for what it
was, and they
took
took
a freaking
they
grand
did.
slam.
They
Power
did.
to them.
And yeah, exactly. And Nintendo definitely did not do that, but at the same time, I think all three of them are great consoles, and they're all going to have their great games this generation.
Well, I'll definitely be interested in what all three of these companies have to say at E3.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to Microsoft, coming, forward with that promise that they made of new exclusive content.
Yep.
Looking for some big things from Sony, because I think that Sony, they're in a position to just wow everyone with surprises.
Yeah.
And Nintendo, if the recent trends have anything to do with the future, then they've got some real surprises and hype in the making.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great E3, and I'm really excited to see what happens at it.
Yeah, so that'll end our first podcast, and tune in next time. We're going to talk about ideas for the Wii U gamepad.
Yep.
We've got some pretty good ideas that we'd love to see games made in this fashion, and if you're one of those people that feels like Nintendo really needs to get on the ball with that, then you'll want to listen to that.
And our next one will probably be like E3 reactions and what we saw at E3 that we love.
True, yeah, we're probably going to have to do that.
Do like a couple for that, because there's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about.
As soon as I empty my shorts.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do the podcast.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be back with some E3 impressions and what we loved, what we didn't like, and yeah, that's it
maybe
for our
E3
preview.
Videos.
Yeah, maybe. But I think that's it for our E3 preview. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. Remember to visit DNAVG and promote your videos there. All you have to do is
definitely
sign up and put your videos on there and tell your friends to watch them. And it's a good device for promoting your YouTube channel.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in.
And we'll talk to you guys next time.
Yep.